Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Watchlist. Basically, think of this as a monthly TV guide for me to let you know what and when TV shows that I'm interested in and maybe you're interested in are coming out. Like always, in the description down below, I'll include any links to any trailers that might be available about anything that I bring up during this watch list. On February 6th on USA Network, we have this new series called Briarpatch. It seems like they're already setting it up to be like this 10-part kind of mystery series. Essentially, Rosario Dawson's playing this character. Her sister was murdered, and basically she comes to this town to try and figure out like who was behind it. Like I said, it seems like this big like mystery series. It seems really interesting. I've mainly seen promos of the show like through commercials. I haven't seen the full-blown trailer, but from what I've seen, it seemed really interesting. You know, I love me a good mystery, and it seemed like kind of a stacked, star-studded cast. Gotta love that alliteration. So, you know, it seems really interesting, so I'm really excited to, you know, check this series out. Also on that same day, also on the USA Network, is we have The Sinner Season 3. If you're unaware what The Sinner is, basically, it follows this one particular detective, Harry, who's played by Bill Pullman. It basically solves these cases where you kind of know who the murderer is, but slowly it's unveiling this mystery of understanding why they did what they did. There's usually like a lot of elements that came together to lead to this particular case. And each season is a different case. Obviously, this season we get Matt Balmer, so that's pretty cool. I've seen, you know, obviously, much like Briarpatch, I've seen commercial spots and stuff for it, but I haven't sat down to watch the full-blown trailer. I'm just going to wait for, obviously, the show to come out. But I'm really excited to have The Sinner back. If you haven't seen The Sinner before, it's kind of a great time to get into it. Seasons 1 and 2 are currently on Netflix if you want to catch up. So on February 7th on Netflix, we have a new series coming out called Locke Key, which is based on a comic book of the same name. Well, comic book / graphic novel of the same name. Essentially, these kids move into this house with their mom. Like it seems like it's some time after their dad passed away, but this house is interesting because there's a whole bunch of keys, and it seems like these keys open special doorways and are also connected to superpowers, interestingly enough. But there's also like a big mystery to the house because it seems like there's something that's sealed away there. So, and the kids kind of find themselves kind of in the middle of all this. It seems really interesting. It seems like the show does seem like it has some like horror elements to it, so a blend of horror and fantasy, and just the premise alone seemed very interesting. So I'm really interested to check the series out and see, you know, what's all about. On February 16th on NBC, I'll kind of come back to that because there's a little bit of caveat with that. We have season 3 of Good Girls coming out, which I'm very excited about. Obviously, I'll let you know ahead of time. I have not watched Good Girls. It's something that was recommended to me. Well, I'm in the process of watching, I should say, because I started season 1 like yesterday at the time of recording this, and I'm currently on episode 5, so I've got plenty enough time to catch up. But I'm enjoying it so far. Without really spoiling it, it seems like a nice, like almost like, well, definitely a comedy crime drama. It has elements of like Breaking Bad and Ozark, but with a comedic element to it, because these 3 moms, you know, Beth, Annie, and Ruby, are, you know, in different situations yet similar situations where they need money to support their family, so they kind of find themselves in the more criminal side of things, trying to get paid. So like I said, but they're kind of amateurs, so they're kind of stumbling their way through, at least where I am at in the series. Like I said, going back to like the caveat I brought up earlier, was like the fact is I was looking at it, and what I saw was that season 3 is premiering on both NBC and Netflix. I didn't want to read too much into that because I didn't want to, you know, potentially come across spoilers. So I highly recommend you look into that to kind of verify that for yourself, especially if you're caught up. But because normally stuff like that doesn't happen, like simulcasting like that. I think usually the inverse will happen if it's a show from outside the U.S. Prefer to be a show in the U.S. to be potential. I don't know. Like I said, we'll wait till February 16th to see how that really plays out. But that's going to be an interesting situation if it does work out like that. Like I said, the whole Netflix angle might be something outside of the U.S., but, you know. On February 21st on Prime Video, we have a new series called Hunters. It's basically a group of people gathered together hunting Nazis. It's not set in modern day. It's like, I think it's set in like the 70s or 80s if I remember correctly. I do apologize. That's legitimately just the premise of the show. From what I remember of the trailer, it did seem like it has some comedic elements to it, but I do think this is going to be kind of like a bit of a bloody drama of just like, yeah, let's take down some Nazi type of situation. I assume it's probably not going to be the same thing, which is kind of a weird reference for me to make, so stick with me, but it kind of feels like it might be kind of like almost Inglourious Basterds level, even though that took place specifically during World War II. This doesn't. But I assume tone-wise to kind of get something similar to that. Like I said, it just also coming from someone who's only seen bits and pieces of Inglourious Basterds. I've never seen the entire movie. But I mean, regardless, you know, obviously the trailer's in the description down below. I recommend you check it out. But I mean, it seems interesting. It's also got quite a cast as well, so that's interesting. And also executive produced by Jordan Peele, so that's pretty dope. On February 23rd on AMC, we have the second half of Season 10 of The Walking Dead premiering. Very excited to have The Walking Dead back to kind of see where things kind of go from here. Obviously, like, there were some tough blows that went down, like, around, you know, the mid-range of, you know, or nearing the end of the first half of the season. So, still kind of reeling from all those discoveries and just everything kind of playing out. Obviously, finding out, you know, the grand scheme of, like, everything Michonne is up to for multiple reasons, just because, obviously, like, very obviously without spoiling things, if you aren't aware, there's some things related to Michonne that obviously, you know, depending on how things kind of play out this season, it's going to be interesting. But also, like, what she's up to right now, what that means for the grand scheme of things, especially against this battle with Alpha. Then you got the whole, like, well, what the hell is Negan doing with his storyline? It's like, okay, I'm interested to see where all that plays out. So I'm excited to see where, you know, the second half of this season takes us, especially as, you know, things kind of heat up more and more with Alpha and the Whisperers. So on February 26th, we have a new series coming out on Netflix called I Am Not Okay With This. It's actually based on a comic book of the same name. Interestingly enough, this said comic book was written by the same person who wrote the comic book that The End of the Effing World is based on. So I think that kind of gives you kind of an understanding of probably, you know, kind of what to kind of expect from the show. What's interesting too, kind of along the same lines, some of the people behind adapting The End of the Effing World are also adapting this too, so that's pretty cool. So I think, you know, me personally, I enjoyed The End of the Effing World both seasons, so it makes me even more excited. I was already excited, but this made me even more excited for this series as someone who's never read the comic book. I've actually had a friend, you know, talk to me about this comic book like a year or two ago, but basically I actually don't know too much about the series. Essentially, there's this girl who's, you know, in high school and she's kind of trying to figure herself out, you know, but also, you know, like when it comes to her sexuality, as well as on top of dealing with all of that, she also has to, you know, deal with the fact that she has superpowers and, you know, what that means in this grand scheme of things. I'm actually going to tell you, I actually kind of had the ending of the comic book spoiled for me. So I'm curious to see if they're going to go down that route with the TV show. Like I said, I'm not going to say anything, but like I said, my friend just accidentally spoiled it, you know, a year or two ago. She probably doesn't even remember that she did that, but it's fine. So I'm curious because obviously, like I said, I'm not going to go down that route, but it seems like a very interesting series. Like I said, you know, especially with all that other knowledge, I'm like, but I'm really interested to check this series out to kind of really see like what it is at the heart of things. And finally, on February 27th on Netflix, we have season 2 of Altered Carbon. I am so excited that we finally have season 2. From what I heard, interesting enough, if season 1 was kind of mixed, either you loved it or you hated it. That's kind of like the general reception I've picked up. Maybe that's not the case with everyone. Me personally, I find myself lucky enough to be on the side that I loved season 1. It was so good. If you're unfamiliar with Altered Carbon is, it's basically based off this trilogy of novels, basically known as like the, Takeshi Kovacs trilogy, I think, or novels. But essentially, it's kind of this dystopian world where basically immortality is almost a thing, that basically everything that is you, your essence, is in this device known as a stack, and basically you can switch bodies, or as they refer to it in this world, as sleeves. So it's just, like I said, this interesting science fiction dystopian world that kind of like where social status kind of plays a role in just how well off your life can be, how well off your immortality can be. And it's actually a really interesting world, but it also has like this, like, you know, very like noir crime drama element, you know, mystery mixed in with it, especially in season 1. I'm curious to see if that kind of gets carried over into season 2. I don't want to spoil it, but a lot of stuff from season 1 is kind of like a package deal where you're like, oh, that's all season 1, but then there's elements of season 1 that you can definitely see trailing over into season 2, especially for Kovac. Like, there's certain things and elements he learned in season 1 that's going to affect him going into season 2, but it definitely, the way things are shaking up, you're kind of like, oh yeah, like we're going to be getting all new characters, all new stories coming in, you know, season 2. So I'm very, very excited to finally have the show back, because apparently it's been like 2 years, and it's like, yeah, it's literally coming out almost 2 years after the first season. So like I'm just excited to have season 2 already. And that brings this month's watch list to an end. Like always, if there's something that's coming out that maybe you're aware of, that maybe I wasn't aware of, that you think, hey, me or somebody else would be really interested in, don't be afraid to leave it in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.